Greetings, friends! Welcome to Free Range Thinking. We are here again in our cozy recording caves, ready to dive into some interesting topics and rabbit holes. I'm Alex Carr, and
I'm Sharon Lee, and every week we serve up a delicious buffet of neurodivergent topics, discussions, questions, and explorations around the subject of living as a neurodivergent human. You want to go to the next one?
and I do the next one. Okay, last time,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we enjoyed talking about and celebrating how people like us and you can not only thrive in today's world but prosper. And because the world desperately needs neurodivergent humans to bring so real transformation and evolution to mankind.
Yeah. So we are the keys through the shitstorm of a one-size-fits-all world. And that is no joke.
And
so happy that you joined us. I feel like so much has happened, and through the last 2 weeks, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk to Alex. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk to Alex. And now I feel like I'm dreading myself kicking into the like fire hose delivery gear that sometimes can happen when I'm excited about stuff. So I'll try and maintain some kind of control. But if I'm like talking way too fast, just let me know.
Go for it. I'm excited. I'm really excited to hear what you came up with.
Well, I was in Paris for last week, and it's interesting because when we're, in, kind of this sequestered way of living with the COVID, and I guess it's, especially for neurodivergence, we get into our little habits, but you don't realize until you get out into a completely different environment, how much we have been used to adjusting and tolerating like average life. And of course, Paris is a big city, but the stimulation level. And so I was wondering when I was there, I was like, God, how do people who have stimulation sensitivities, like how do they deal with being in the city? And I was thinking, God, can you imagine being born into a multiple child family in the city and being undiagnosed, and how the hell do you thrive? And so I was kind of just thinking about that and things like that, among the other 50 million things, how I'm always thinking. But that in particular, it kept resurfacing. And so I was just noticing. And I think it's, or I don't think, I'm wonder, is it easier when we're younger? Am I changing as I'm getting older and becoming, am I becoming more tolerant? Or I guess the question is, what am I more tolerant of and what am I less tolerant or have the capacity to, filter out or ignore? Just a lot of interesting questions and observations from being in Paris. And people were asking me, so what are you going to see? Are you going to go see this? Are you going to go, there's an exhibit. And I was like, nope. And I really had no desire to, get on the subway, which I totally didn't want to get on the subway this time. And, so walking around, and it was pretty good weather. So yeah, I do what I love to do most when I'm in any city or any place that I visit, city or otherwise. And I like wandering around. And I like wandering around and thinking, because that's my favorite. My favorite sport, my favorite pastime, I guess, my favorite occupation. So just wandering around in a different location and thinking while absorbing the ambiance of the place that I'm in. So it was great. It was great. I had a really good time.
Do you, when you are in a, especially when you are in a place you are not familiar with, like such a big and thriving city like Paris, do you think in a different way, and do you think different thoughts?
That's an interesting question. I don't see any difference. I don't think. now I'll have to think about that. Yeah, there's definitely more stimulation for sure. And anytime we go to someplace new, and especially for, you know, people with sensitivity issues, there's always that certain level, whether it's high or low, but there's always a certain level of anxiety of like, you know, how long do I have to stay out? You know, can I get back quickly if I want to? You know, what am I going to eat? What am I going to, you know, so I was noticing stuff like that. And I noticed that, I was just conscious of it because I was thinking on these subjects. So, but then it's, of course, with the ADD, I'm thinking of these things and it's like, oh, you know, it's like squirrel. And it's like noticing the architecture, or, you know, I'd pass by a florist and I have to stop and just look at all the patterns and the colors of the flowers in the buckets and outside and the smell of it, and just marinating, standing in front of there and just taking it in. I just love it. And then, you know, and then my thoughts kind of jump back in and then I keep walking. But so there's a lot more to, I want to say distract and stimulate and overstimulate for sure. And so that's the part that's different. But, you know, I find myself, I want to say letting go and relaxing into that. Whereas if I had an itinerary or something, I wouldn't have been so relaxed, because it's, you know, you have to do it. You have to, you know, what you should do or have to do. Yeah.
I just try to remember. I mean, for me, the time when I was traveling really a lot stopped around 2013-ish. But for me, it was always, I didn't want to leave home. I was literally feeling sick, like a really bad cold, as I would get a really bad cold 2 days before any traveling, any journey, any adventure. Yeah, because I didn't want to leave. But as soon as I was sitting in the car, or as soon as I was sitting in the train to the airport or whatever destination I had to go to, that was gone. Then I knew I really could relate to what you were describing. It took me 3 or 4 trips to find out about that. But I started thinking and I started working really hard, and it was really easy for me in the train, and especially in lounges on the airport, so that I'm done as soon as I'm in the plane. Because I couldn't. I know a lot of people say they are immensely productive when they are on the plane, because they are offline then, and it's they're in a really high focused state of concentration. For me, that was never the case, because in the plane, as soon as I'm there, then I'm in a really relaxed mood, but in a really relaxed state, but so relaxed that I can't work really productive anymore, and there are too many distractions. Funnily, it's not like this in the train. But so I tried to check all the boxes until I'm in the plane, and when I'm in a new place, in a new surrounding, as I said, it took me 3 or 4 trips to find out that it's so it was feeling so freeing, and to cut off all the daily business and all the connections to any responsibility at home, that I was really thriving when I was in a foreign country, in a new place, in a new city, and then I was able to take it in. And I was really I was thinking in a different kind of way, and I was thinking different thoughts than I was at home.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, and it's so funny because until I have these discussions, I don't really think about what I do. So as you were talking, I was noticing it's like you got sick before you went. And for myself, I realized that I have in the past tended to get sick when I came home from something. And I think it's because I was enduring overstimulation that I wasn't aware of, and that it was having a taxing effect on my system. And so it's interesting that you had a thing before you went. Yeah. And then when I prepare, like for the train or for an airplane or something, I have multiple things that I think I might want to work on, because just because I want to work on something doesn't mean I can work on it at that particular time. So I'm pretty gracious with myself about what I'm able to do in that particular moment. Again, it's one of these things that, I don't know, not a coping mechanism, but things that I've ended up doing that really work that I didn't even realize I was doing it. Which is, all through what we're talking about here is it's a fascinating thing to me of how other people and neurodivergence, what kind of systems and what kind of hacks and tweaks we've come up with in order to thrive. Yeah.
I always put at least 2 tasks I could do while traveling. One was, what do I want to consume? What do I want to watch or read or listen to? And the other was always, what do I want to work on, like in a productive mode? What do I want to write, or what concept do I want to work on, but don't have to, because I always that was like 2 times I thought, okay, I'm going to work on this presentation I am traveling to, or I have to give when I'm at my destination, and that went almost so horribly wrong, because then you meet somebody on a train. I mean, I'm introverted. I normally I don't want to talk with anybody, but sometimes they are so interesting. Yeah, so much interesting people next to you or in front of you in a train, that I can't help to find out more about them or talk to them, or you meet somebody, and then you don't want to be rude, and in a finger snap there, the 1 or 2 hours are gone, and then you can't work on that. So it was always then I can do this, I might do this, but I don't have to.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. It's like on the way back when I was in Paris, I got the book Wanting by Luc Burgess. And all I want to do is read it. But it was the train or any traveling is difficult in terms of concentration, because the mask factor, and it's uncomfortable, and the way you breathe, because you have to keep it on, of course. And because I wear glasses, it blows air right up onto my eyeballs directly. So it makes doing anything, reading, writing, anything, very, very uncomfortable physically. And so it's hard to ignore that. Because I got to a point where all I want to do is just close my eyes to get rid of the discomfort, but I'm not tired, because my brain is going. And so I kind of didn't know what to do with myself, but I was reading, and it's the kind of book that it's hard for me to read it straight through and consume it, because what he's saying is so fascinating. And I could read a paragraph, and there's like a particular line in it that really jumps out. And so then I was closing the book and then leaning back, putting my glasses on top of my head and closing my eyes and just thinking about that. And so that's how I spent the train 3.5 hours on the way home. So I was reading little chunks and then thinking about them and chewing on them. It would have been great fun if you'd have been there. Had a phenomenal conversation on the way home.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. How far into the book did you get?
Not far, because it's like when I got home, I was trying to catch up on some other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I've got my pencil. My mom kind of was always this way. She would write in pencil, light notes in the margins of books. And Saskia was like going, "That's sacrilegious. You shouldn't do that." And I was like, "That's not how I was raised." We were, certain books, yes, but books like this, it's like carrying on a conversation with the author.
Yeah.
And just because somebody writes something doesn't mean they're the end all be all authority. And so it's kind of like, okay, I wonder what that looks like from the other direction. And, kind of, using the critical thinking and saying, okay, maybe I should look into this from this side, or is there somebody else that's having a discussion about this? And I wonder where that came from. But it's, so it's like almost, like a workbook or a reference book. And yeah, it's incredibly exciting. And and I had been talking about this, the mimetic behavior, and that humans mimic each other. And so everything that he's saying is so true, and it makes sense and everything. But then I'm always like, yes, but what about the neurodivergents? And like, what does this look like for kids, in their development stage? They aren't mimicking, or they are mimicking the wrong things, or like, how do we, as we develop, what does that look like that once you're an adult? And I'm a little bit obsessed right now, but I keep having to stop and think about what he's talking about framed, with neurodivergence.
May I jump in there? Because
sure.
So I think that is so important. I mean, when a neuronormative person writes a book about how neuronormative people might act in their childhood, and what kind of behavior they are copying or mimicking from others, and that is what I meant some episodes ago when I said, okay, what if people are not aware of the fact that there is something like neurodiversity? That sounds to me, that sounds as if the author looks at, I don't know, looks at 60-70% maybe of population, and not into the 1, 3, 2, 5, 0.3% of all the other shades that are there. And then it's, that's I maybe every book should get a foreword that explains, okay, what you're reading here might fit for 50-60% of the population, but
yeah, and it's and I'm right in the beginning of it, but I've seen like every podcast, or I've listened to every podcast this guy's been on, And I've seen videos of him, and I think he's amazing. He does amazing research and how his perspective on things. I'm a big fan. But the book, as he's writing it, it's so much richer than, of course, what anybody can do on a podcast as a guest, even for an hour and a half that he's on some of these things. And but yeah, so I'm only in the beginning of it still. And so I have no idea if he addresses this issue later on in the book. So I have to say, I don't know. But in the beginning, I'm just like, oh. But it's kind of like the gaps that I always see in everything. That it's like, wow, okay, they're leaving everybody out. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. There's, and but it's like he says. I like what he says. That it's the mimicking thing in humans is like, it's a given, it's a fact. We all do it. It's just, the way humans are primally, that's the way we're hardwired. It's like gravity, whether we admit it or recognize it or are aware of it, it still exists.
Yeah.
And so when you start looking through everything, the education system, everything, as we're developing, everything is based on the mimicking, all the, the sales, the marketing, it's why Facebook is Facebook, it's why it's a thing. It's why, because people are looking at each other and mimicking, and he's talking about modeling. And so I started in the very front of the book on one of the blank pages to write down my models. What in my life, which is a really interesting exercise to do. And it's like, yeah, sure enough, there's a pattern there. And, the people who I admire and respect, or had a big impact on my life. Because he was saying there's two ways you can go about it. Not two ways to go about it, but there's two sides of it. Mirroring, and then the mimicking. You can mimic and be, because you want to be just like the other person, you're mimicking them. And the other one is a mirroring, where you don't want to be anything like that person, but it still affects your behavior. No matter which way you go, you're still affected by that, which was such an interesting concept. For example, my sister was fairly disruptive in our family dynamic situation. And she started using drugs and alcohol at a very young age. And I thought, I don't want to be anything like that. So I did everything to not be like her, which does affect who we become. It's the mirroring side of that. So I was thinking about that. And yes. And I was like, it's just it's such a fruitful awareness. I'm having a hard time putting words around it. I'm just having so much fun reading it and thinking about it, and in comparison with my life. And then I look at people around me, of course, and then I look at the cultures, and then I look at, I'm like, it's just the fractals and how it multiplies. And I said, maybe, is it a good idea that I'm reading this? Because I've got stuff I have to work on. And this has just absolutely hijacked my brain, and in the best way possible. The rabbit holes I could go down, just as this. So, and about what are the implications of, and what is the responsibility that I have of facilitating groups, knowing that humans will mimic each other and myself as the facilitator. And so when I'm reading what he's writing, I'm thinking, okay, I was able now to put my finger on why it makes me uncomfortable when I could tell certain people perceive me as the authority. That's what it is. That's what it is that makes me uncomfortable, is because it's the thing of, you know, I want to say, think for yourself, don't mimic me. Almost. Again, it's not, these aren't fully formed, thoughts and things. It's just what's coming out about it, and that I'm noticing. And the other thing that I'm noticing is maybe because of the way I'm hardwired and on the spectrum and personality type and just the particular cocktail of how I'm hardwired and who I am, I'm not as susceptible to the pressures of the mimicking because of my personality type, because I seriously don't give a shit about authority. And so somebody who appears to be positioned above me or higher value, why would I mimic them? Who the hell are they? And that's a natural thing within myself. So it's like I'm not quite sure where that is or how much of it is. I have to do some more thinking about that and definitely more research. Yay. But it's an interesting area to open up and discuss and talk about. And there's other friends of mine that I haven't even opened the discussion yet. They have no idea that they're going to be getting a phone call and going, we have to talk. So I feel like I should apologize to all my close friends who I have, other free range. I would say my other free range thinking friends. It's like you have no idea what what is about to be unleashed upon you because of this book. But so I would say to you, it's like, hell yes, you have to read this book, because you and I have to discuss it as well.
I was just thinking, if did he already explain on which base people decide, consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously, what they mimic? You just described one perspective or one criteria. For example, you mimic somebody mimics somebody who is higher in a hierarchy or is an authority. So they mimic the person because they think, okay, when I want to get higher in the hierarchy, then I should mimic this person. I normally think I'm really suspicious when somebody is in a hierarchy. Then I'm really suspicious if I should mimic this person, or if I do something similar than this person, or if I should go automatically another way.
It's not that obvious. It's way more primal than that. Which, of course, with me, with all the fascination with the primal behaviors, that's why this thing really, the whole thing really speaks to me. For example, I would ask you the question of, why did you buy that particular microphone? Why are you wearing that particular watch? Why do you buy the things that you buy? And so sometimes, it could be like, oh, so-and-so has that, it must be good. It's so subtle. It's so subtle.
That is really, really, that is a really good question.
And you have to watch your daughter, because you've got like this wonderful test animal in your house at the age that she is, and so you'll be able to see some of the things. And for example, when they talk about people mimic each other in any group situation, and it's a form of bonding. Where if somebody's sitting there, you could do the test of like, okay, you scratch your nose a couple of times, and then next thing you know, a couple of people are scratching their nose. This is something that is like almost completely out of our control.
I just
And so, yeah, go ahead.
I just realized something when you said I should watch her, or we watched a movie. I mean, she watches. We watch one movie and then she watches this movie over and over and over again until she knows it by heart. And we watched
Mhm.
the Raya and the Last Dragon Disney movie that came out
Mhm.
last year. Um, and I thought she might identify with the main character, Raya,
Mhm.
which is a really tough princess, and yeah, she's the main character of the story. And now, as she dives deeper into the whole story and understands the characters more and more, uh, she starts mimicking the dragon, but only
Mhm.
when the dragon is the dragon and not when the dragon is in a human persona. And she, but she wanted, and that's why I just came up with that, because I talked to my girlfriend in the car the other day. She said she wants the haircut like an undercut haircut, which looks really cool, of course, and from the evil character that is
Hmm.
turning into the good one in the end, or into spoiler alert, into a good character in the end. But the whole movie, she's the really tough, fringy, and yeah, the evil character through the whole movie. And I thought, like, okay, she can have that haircut, but we have to find out why she wants that, because I don't want her to get evil.
Right, right.
But I just realized that from this story, yeah, she gets
So
so
ask
much out
her.
of it.
So
Yeah,
ask her, say, what do you like about the character?
yeah,
Now, because kids are kids, she might just say, oh, the character's a jerk, but I like her haircut.
yeah, maybe, yeah,
Yeah, have no idea until you ask her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
But it is, there's so much, the animation, it's all symbol and metaphor, and it's rich. It's very
Oh yes,
rich.
oh yes,
But there should be discussion with kids about, okay, why?
yeah,
Why that?
yeah,
You know. But again, it's like this ripple effect that if a little girl's in a class and she likes the rougher characters and the very independent characters, and she's always identified with that, then she gets into a school setting,
hmm,
and the next year in class all the other little girls are into princesses. It's hard to maintain, choosing to be an outsider. And this is what I noticed that
huh.
was interesting, because I never had trouble maintaining that and being the outsider. And so my question about this whole thing is like, is it easier for neurodivergents to stand up against society's pressure to mimic and each other?
Or are we
Or
more
is
used to
it,
it?
or something? But it brings up a lot of interesting
Oh,
questions.
we have this
I
conflict
don't
here
know.
really, really hard sometimes, because I couldn't place my girlfriend on the spectrum, but she was an outsider in her childhood and in her youth as well. She was totally into books. She could read like with five or so, 4 or 5, because before she got to school, she read all the books in the
Mhm.
house. She read all the books she could
Mhm.
get. Not also because she was into books, but also because then nobody else would bother her.
Mhm.
And I was more like yeah, I was a little bit more aggressive and tackling. When I look back now, I was more aggressive in kind of um, I didn't have the opportunity to pull myself out of every situation. So I developed my own strategies.
Their survival mechanisms.
Survival mechanisms in group situations, especially. So I developed strategies to be the odd one out, but to feel comfortable with it, and it's hard. It's hard to get it to get words around it so quickly. But we have a lot of discussions because I try to teach the little one, or to give her the opportunity to use the strategies that I developed. And my girlfriend sees it as a threat, and says you can't tell her to do that because then she would run into massive problems. And I always say, why should that happen? She can run into problems in any case. So why you give her your strategies to deal with it? I teach her my strategies, and she finds her own way, and she can she can take strategies or tactics from the buffet as she goes. And sometimes she reacts in this way, and sometimes she reacts in that way, and then she can learn how that works out for her. And my girlfriend is really really a rule person. She wants to have a rule for everything because I think that gives her some kind of safety, a feeling of safety. I always have to grin when you are. I just heard it in the old episode I edited. You were talking about don't color outside the lines. So, and my girlfriend is I won't go over the lines if my life depends on it. She's really, really, really. She really told to our daughter when she was 2 years old, you are supposed to draw inside the lines. And I was like, just draw new lines.
Wow.
Or just take a really big black pencil and draw new lines around. No, you are not supposed to do that. You are supposed to draw inside the lines. And I go like, okay. But
that is so interesting. It's I find so many ways it's delightful and sad and for the whole thing. But like, what a cool and fortunate chance that your daughter has of being in a household with two perspectives.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure that it's exhausting sometimes.
Yeah.
For all of us.
She'll adapt.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I try at least not to make it there is a right and a wrong way, and for my girlfriend it's often that there is just the right way. And not a lot of different ones. And I always have to say to myself, okay, that there are some fields where she feels really insecure, and not having this one way to stick to is feeling really unsafe for her. Where I'm like, okay, when I realize it's the wrong way, then I go another way, and then another way, and then another way, and someday I will find the right way. So it's no big deal. Maybe it just takes a little bit time. And I think for people who really need strict rules, and who really need this feeling of, okay, I know how much I can go left, I know how much I can go right, but I have this straight lines I can move along to. It must drive them crazy if there's somebody like me who's like.
Do you guys argue a lot?
Yeah.
I have to ask, do you guys argue a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Especially since the pandemic.
Sorry, I don't mean to ask personal stuff
That's totally okay. No,
in a public forum.
That's totally okay for me. We argue a lot. I try to rein myself in more, but because I know that the way I deal with a lot of things must be really exhausting for a lot of people. Especially for people who are need a really structured day or really structured life, and that must be really hard for them.
I hear you. And it's funny because again, growing up with the mother I grew up with, and being aware of personality type. I mean, that of course came later, but but with a certain amount of awareness, is just part of who I am. And the thing of having open communication was always very, very important, and discussing things and problem solving and conflict resolution type stuff was just the norm in our household. And so when Lydia and I first started dating, her family did none of that. And so I noticed, I was like, okay, this is an area that is going to be difficult. And of course, anybody I've ever dated, I was like, I needed to know what their personality type was and certain things. It's like, is this even worth it, the effort in a relationship with this person? It doesn't matter how wonderful they are, but as soon as the kind of, as they call it, the honeymoon phase wears off, then you're left with the realness and then you need good communication. You need conflict resolution, some conflict resolution skills, and but are the main values in place, like trust and respect. So I would when I tested out her personality type, I was like, oh God, because we're complete opposites. And normally people of our types should never attempt a relationship. And I was like, but I have faith. And but it hasn't been easy. But the thing that made the difference was that when I was talking to her about it in the beginning, and I said, okay, look, here's the reality of kind of who we are as people, as individuals. I want to give it a go. How do you feel about it? And this is, this is what I'm, how do you feel about that? And, what do you want to contribute or work on from your side? And so that was very important to me. And she was saying that I don't want to, because her particular personality type, they tend to get narrower as they get older. So knowing that, and I get more and more open-minded, more open on a number of different levels.
That's
whereas
a thing.
Her personality, oh yeah. Oh. We could talk about this later. Just a session one-on-one. But her personality type, the propensity is to go towards what's been known, what's been proven, what is. So it's secure. Therefore, as they get older, it gets narrower and narrower. So less adaptable, less open. And so when I saw that, I was just like, oh no, because I really liked her. And so when I talked to her, when I told her about this, she's like, but I don't want to be that way when I get older. And I took a deep breath and I said, all right, if you really mean that, there are ways that you can work. There's work, I said, but it's hard work. It's not comfortable. But if you really want that, it's possible. I said, but you need to understand, I'm not asking you to do this. I said, we don't need to be together. And I said, I know that sounds harsh, but I will never make you be somebody that you're not that you don't want to be. I don't want a partner like that. And so we revisit that very often. And she actually just recently said to me, she said, that decision back when we first got together 25 years ago was, she said, it probably saved her life, of her talking about that and actively making the decision to expand herself and do the work. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's pretty profound. But there's, but we're different.
I just totally realized that at one point I can pin that down, and where I have to dig deeper into. I mean, if one person in a relationship knows about that and knows how to deal with it, it's like half. It's already halfway, and I just realized that because you just said it, is how you get out of a conflict, or how you solve conflicts. For me, I always want to get to a solution, to get something out of a conflict, because otherwise for me then the whole argument, the whole discussion, whatever, the whole fight is pointless for me. And my girlfriend is more like, I go, she leaves the room mid-sentence, then stays away for an hour, and then comes back in a really light mood, like nothing ever happened. And that's something that drives me crazy, because there's no solution. This is just like getting it under the rug, or just pretend that there was no argument. And then some years ago, I realized that for her it just takes a little bit longer to, sometimes we do the constructive solution like 1 or 2 days later, and I just have to be more patient with her to process it.
Yeah.
But I still
have in the past been known to be like, no, we're going to talk this out now. We're gonna we're not done yet. I've done that.
For me, it is so natural. So you have two different opinions, and you find a conclusion, and I just forget that for some people it is totally exhausting to have an argument or even a fight, and they have to leave the situation to recharge a little bit. And that is what I learned through being an introvert and reading or learning about being an introvert. I have no problem. I just get more energy in a discussion or in an argument. And I'm thriving in it. But when I'm in a large group of people, that is sucking energy out of me. So I just had to learn that for her or even other people, it's a whole different spiel, and it's exhausting for them to be in a fight or an argument. But they're totally fine in large groups, for example.
Yeah, and it's like again, what my mother would say was, we're all a bunch of children bringing our shit into any situation, and enacting our childhood patterns out on each other. And it's the best we can do is try and be aware of it and evolve as the best we can, but we can't force anybody else to evolve or but if you're in a relationship, or a partnership or a collaboration with somebody, that's where the ground rules and, setting the norms, choosing the norms, setting the boundaries together is really important, because then you have something to work from and you have a common language, especially for people who are, everybody's different. Everybody's, neuronormative, or not neuronormative, neurodiverse. We're in a neurodiverse world, but we have to be aware of everybody else's style of doing something. And of course, that's exhaustive to keep up with that. Some of us, we like that, but not everybody's into that. And so what are some shortcuts, or what are some, let's say, systems? It's a kind of a squarish, restrictive word a little bit, but what are some ways that we can be sure that we can give each other the space and respect, but yet still move forward, still evolve. It's one thing to be healthy and to thrive, and whether it's family or a work situation or a collaborative partnership, what can we do to help each other? This, I think, is kind of my main focus, and I feel like it's a way to honor other people's needs, but being aware and listening and asking permission. But it has been difficult because not many people speak up about their situation or the issues that they're dealing with, or the conditions that they're dealing with that people can't see. Yeah. So they're like the mental health stuff, because there's so much shame around it. So why would, if somebody's not in a really kind of safe situation, people wouldn't speak up about it. So how would all the rest of us know? We just see somebody who's difficult to deal with, and we make assumptions about them.
Yeah. I mean, there's the shame, but before before you realize the shame, you have to realize what the thing is you are dealing with in that moment. I just remember yesterday, it was a really social weekend for us, especially for our daughter. It was like so many social contacts she had like 2 years ago, before the pandemic, all packed into one weekend. And yesterday evening, she really broke down for 20 minutes. And I tried to find out what's wrong. And it took me like 15 or 20 minutes that she just doesn't know. And that it was just too much for her. And that there is no solution in that situation. Just to let her calm down and just wait until until she could let the frustration, or the frustration on the one side, and all the positive feelings she collected over the weekend, just to let it out. And that's hard for me to learn that sometimes you just can't do anything, or there isn't nothing you should do. Just wait, be there. Let people just be for 15 minutes, half an hour, just as long as it takes.
And for solution-based people, logic, oriented people, that's a challenge to do that. I'm the same way. It's like I was saying, I think at another podcast that we were doing, I get into an argument with my wife, and I'm logicking the way through it and saying, okay, this is what, and then all of a sudden I look at her and I'm thinking, shit, all she needs is a hug right now. But it's hard when stuff is ramped up to the point where you're, and you're in an argument, and for somebody, who's on the introverted side and has, maybe some other, it's like on the spectrum or something. It's like, it's almost physically impossible to walk across the room and hug somebody. So I can do it. And I make a point to do it. And it feels very unnatural, but man alive, it really helps. So I've got proof, I've done the experiments, let's say, and the results all say, yes, that shit works. Hugs work.
I mean, just try to think it through from the other side. I mean, I think the majority of people out there thinks when there's a heated situation, okay, all I have to do is hug the person. And just imagine when they realize hugging is the fucking worst thing they can do. What I mean?
Well, I've got an example. Because if something is intense, especially kind of emotionally, and somebody can see that I'm I'll be struggling or something, it'll be intense, and they'll go, "Oh," that thing where they're like, "Oh," and there's a I don't know whether it's a pity or I think that they're empathizing with me, and it's the head tilt and the kind of the sad eyes, and their arms go out for a hug, and they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Don't touch me." I don't even think about hugging me, because I know my eyes must go really big at that point. I'm like, just, no. You can't touch me right now. Now, if Lydia did that to me, that would be fine. But it's people that I don't necessarily know or I'm not close to, and I touch very few people. I hug very few people. I mean, like, it's rare. So when somebody has that reaction towards me, something that's you're right. From that perspective, when somebody does that, that's a kind of almost a horror movie reaction. Like, don't touch me. Oh my God. And I know that sounds horrible, but it's a thing.
Yeah, it's just for some people that is the solution. Just
I know,
hug and then everything goes away. Sometimes it might work, but that can backfire really badly.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, yeah. And have you ever found yourself in a situation where you allow yourself to be hugged because it makes them feel better?
Yep.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Been there, done that, got a t-shirt.
Yeah. And I always laugh because it's like, if you like hug a cat that doesn't want to be hugged, that's what the image that immediately pops into my head, because I know what I must look like enduring a hug.
Yeah.
And I try to do, to not be that way and not be stiff, but that's because I know that I think that they would feel bad, if you're all stiff and everything. But
I mean, on the other side, I really, if it sounds funny, but I learned through a client some years back who he taught me and said, okay, he really had this theory and worked this out, that a hug has to be long enough. And he said because the oxytocin, the hormone, needs to be built up and needs to be fired
for the
out.
release. For the release,
has to be released, genau.
And it's like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and the hug has to be like 10 or 12 seconds, otherwise it doesn't work. And then he said back then the stiffness normally loses up, because then the oxytocin kicks in. And then the stiffness, yeah, and sometimes maybe it has to be a little bit longer, and sometimes it doesn't work at all.
It's like I feel so uncomfortable right now because I'm imagining it's like some people, okay, but then other people, I just, but I can tell you that you know the 10-second thing that works with my wife. Oh, it's crazy. It's like magic. It's wild. Yeah. So yeah. But
Yeah,
for me,
chemistry of
hugged for 10 or 12 seconds against my will. It makes me uncomfortable just thinking about it. Oh my God. This is like this is the masochistic section of the podcast where we talk about hugging for 12 seconds or more.
Hugging wildcats.
Hugging not unresponsive, but they're just not okay with it.
Yeah. That's funny because when you know something like that,
yeah,
it's like since he told me about that, and since I knew about those 10 or 12 seconds, in that situation, I would say I found myself in a situation like that 2 or 3 times where I was like counting down. And is it going to work or not? 12, 11, 10, 9, maybe not. Oh, it's not working. Oh, yes, it works. Okay, it's all fine.
Oh, God. And let me ask you a question. How acute is your hug radar that you could tell somebody wants to give you a hug?
I think it's not so finely tuned after the pandemic.
Yeah. My eyes are crying. It's funny because it's true, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's to go full circle. It's some kind. I mean, it has to do with also was hugging something that you mimicked in your childhood. And I just can remember that I started hugging people around willingly, and being hugged willingly around when I was 14, 15, 16, around that age, because hugging never was a big thing in all of my family.
Okay.
It was
okay. See, my mom was very.
You were, I mean, even with people from my family, I was like shaking hands also, and that was it.
Well, you're German, right? So.
Yes.
Sorry, had to get that joke in there.
Of course.
The shaking hands. No, that's so interesting though. At 14, because usually that's people who grew up in a family are hugging by the time, especially boys, get to be like teenagers. It's just like hugs are stupid, you know. I'm not hugging anybody, you know, except for if they have a girlfriend, sure. But generally speaking, other people, no. It's interesting because my mom was very, very maternal, very very, I'm going to say very huggy. She wasn't like Velcro or anything, but I mean, I adored, you know, my mother's affection. And it's like when we were little, we would read like that, you know, it would be my sister and I on either side of her in this kind of family hug, reading, you know, every night. So the closeness and the physical closeness. But for me, it's just like one person in my life. I have my person. And everybody else is like in the no zone. Like, they're outside that zone. And I know it was difficult for my mom when I started dating, because then suddenly I've only got room for one in that circle. And so I think that must have been very hard for her.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Being cut off from hugs.
Yeah.
Because you would never guess I had I have a big space boundary if you saw Lydia and I together. Because we're very, I can't think of the word for it. It's like demonstrative, not huggy, but we're we're very close in that manner. And but it's the kindness touching, because we're always, it's like hand on the shoulder. It's like, as we like pass each other in the hallway or something. There's a lot of touch, just very, very like that. And so people would assume that I'm like that with everybody, because I think that throws them off when they meet me, in a situation with her, especially if we're in our home. So I could see how people would misread that. And assume, oh, Sharon needs a hug. I'm like, no, Sharon doesn't. Or Sharon might need a hug. Yeah. Sharon might need a hug, but not from you. And it sounds so horrible. But it's but I know that that's a thing on the for people, on the spectrum. They have like one or two people that's their person, and so that made a lot of sense.
But I mean, I can give the joke back now. That is something really, I mean, you have your family culture, but then you have the culture of the region or the country you are in. And I mean, you have lived in Germany, you have lived now in France. You can imagine the face of an American cashier in the US when I had a really bad day and somebody asked me, hey, how are you doing? And I go like typical German, shitty day, blah, blah, blah. This happened, and just puked my whole heart out there. And they were like, what have I done wrong? Well, what is this mean guy doing here?
Yeah.
Because I didn't think about it. It was just like, oh, cool. Somebody asked me how my day was, and I go, bad.
And that's definitely a cultural thing, because there was a movie that I saw. I just loved it. It was the guy that comes and he was a horn player, and he shows up, he meets these people on vacation, and they said, oh yeah, come to America, you can come visit, you could come stay with us. And so it's a thing that Americans just tend to throw out there. And so he shows up on their doorstep one day. And very, very, very funny, because of the cultural clash. It was taken very literally, So that was kind of the thing of like, yes, unless you want a German to show up at your house, don't invite them, type of a thing.
I literally told people that.
I loved it.
I literally told people that who were saying, hey, when you're here, then come over. And I said, I'm German. If you say that, I might stand on your doorway someday and say, hey, here I am. So be careful what you wish for. But only with people I could imagine that I really would like to maybe visit them. And some people were like, really? You do that over there? I said, yes. Okay, then it's cool. You can really, really come. I really mean it. Okay.
Yeah. That's so funny.
But it's the same thing, I guess, as being aware that are several types on the spectrum of neurodiversity. If you don't know that there are people who take this literally, if you say, hey, how are you doing? And you are not counting in that somebody really tells them how they are doing, and that's not good. Or if you say, hey, come by my house when you are in town, and they really do it, and if you didn't really meant it, it's the being aware of there's more out there that you can imagine, or no, it's like when I realized that I have aphantasia, and that was, I mean, that is it took me 46 years or 46 and a half years on this particular example to learn. That was the first time I realized other people are processing the world in a different way that I do. That was the first time that it was crystal clear to me that I could see it in front of me. Other people have different views on the world, or have different ways to understand the world and to see the world and to process things. And that is so complex.
Yeah. And it's tiring, if somebody is, because there's a lot of people that are fascinated and, want to know more. And then there's other people that are like, oh, God, that's a lot. I have to learn something else. And so I always think about how can I help people who find the complexity of interaction. How can I make that easier? How can I help make it easier and fun, maybe? But this is, interesting, always interesting in, workshops or events, because those are types of places where they're, again, lightly facilitated, but we can, you're going in and you're learning about this particular thing, but there's all this other extra stuff that we can pick up and learn from each other while the learning of a particular thing is going on. And I really like, the small group collaborative learning because of that. It's because we're helping enrich and helping each other to evolve. Yeah. And the more diversity we can have within the groups, the richer that experience is. And it kind of just gets absorbed almost effortlessly. Yeah. So that, but again, the whole, to come back around and talk about the mimicking thing, if we're in small groups and the feeling is good and the ambiance is really comfortable and there's a lot of trust, like new patterns and new ways of thinking or new perspectives, they just get absorbed and mimicked even without us noticing. Yeah.
I just wrote that down in the parking downhill section. How can we make it more easier to learn from each other, to help each other to evolve there, and to find those perspectives.
There's also I was talking to somebody recently, I think my friend Doug, I believe, and we're talking about responsibility. And so it's like, what does that mean? Our ability to respond to, because of responsibility, if we look it up in the dictionary, it's, are we responsible, which usually means who's going to get punished for this if we take responsibility. But it's actually means what is our response, our ability to respond to a particular situation. So it's always like, what is when we say, if we help people to evolve or maybe facilitate people's, evolution, should we, can we, should we, why, type of a thing, because you can't expect somebody or push somebody to evolve or change their perspective or mindset. We have to meet people where they are. And yeah, so I think a lot around that. And again, my favorite place to do that is in within groups, and just let them discover the stuff themselves. It's sort of like, again, what you and I talk about, Montessori for adults. It has that flavor to it, so there's and so the people who are ready absorb, certain lessons, and the people who are not quite there yet, they absorb different areas of the same lesson. But it's all moving forward.
It's the point where I have to say, okay, we shouldn't go down that.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're at the top of the hour, and so we should
at the time. But that's really fascinating. Cool.
So we can wrap it up there, and we'll do this next week.
Yes.
And exactly. I felt like that was a really good conversation today. Sometimes I definitely feel like I have a no tether on my thoughts, and they're just really going off into the weeds. And today was felt a little bit more grounded. I have no idea if somebody else might be listening to this and saying, "Are you kidding me? That was." There's no connection in any of that, but no, it's funny. And I do wonder, while we're doing this, other people's perspective on what these conversations are like, and whether they find them completely random, or if it's actually, if there's some kind of a connectiveness to them. Because I'm sure for you and I, that's totally connected and makes sense, but I have no idea. Although some of the people who have listened to it I've gotten some feedback. They were like, "I love it," but they're not specific. And and I'm at the point where I'm like, "Well, why?" But without, but I feel like it's an overcommitment, asking too much from somebody that's, can you be more specific? What about it? But that'll probably come at some point, but we don't need to push it.
Probably, or if people just like it and can't say why they like it, it's totally it's totally fine for me. The red thread that goes or that connects an episode. Until now, I always found those threads when I'm editing the episodes and write down some chapters or some timestamps to give people a little bit of navigation or a little idea what we are going to talk about in this hour or sometimes 2 hours. And in hindsight, it's like Steve Jobs, who said you can only connect the dots looking backwards.
In hindsight, yeah.
So, and it's always like, the dots connect pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, they do for me anyway.
Yeah, for me, they do, yeah.
Cool. Well then. Until next week.
Yes, until next week. I have to run. Say hi to Lydia and to Saskia if you talk to her. She's still in Paris, right?
Yeah, she's gonna be there till the end of the month. Yeah. So So hug the family.
I'll try.
Yeah, I like this thing. Virtual hugs.
Yeah.
Totally like the virtual hugs. Yeah. Hugging you virtually. Yeah. Okay. All right then. See you later.
Week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.